Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fat Loss Basics. Thank you so much for joining today. Alrighty, if you are new here, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's going to be a good one. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thanks for coming back and listening. Really appreciate you. Fat Loss Basics group coaching Black Friday goes live on Monday. So there will be a link in the show notes on Monday. You can click and get into Fat Loss Basics. This way, essentially, it's the best it's going to be. I mean, it's only going to get better technically. We're going to talk about a little bit on today and how I'm not actually shifting and adjusting the program, but some of the coaching elements that I'm doing and how I'm doing things are going to be a little bit different. So I'm really excited about that. And so, yeah. Let's talk. I changed my release dates, if you will, to 2 episodes a week. So if you were coming here Monday and Wednesday, I really do apologize. 3 episodes were starting to become a lot. They're starting to become a little excessive for me. And I'm going to be super honest. I thought that Wednesday and Friday, like from Friday all the way to Wednesday, was almost like too long to wait. So if you are typically used to listening to me on a Monday or a Wednesday, you could still listen to me on Wednesday. You could just listen to Tuesday's episode on Wednesday. However, Monday will be no more. I would honestly just rather give better quality content and 2 episodes that are right around that 20-30 minute mark versus, a 20-minute episode, a 30+ minute episode, and then a 10-minute episode. So this will no longer be Friday No Filter, which is fine. I will still use no filter, to be super honest. So let's talk about today. Today is actually check-in day when I'm recording this, so Thursday. It's actually check-in day for my clients, and I thought this is an interesting feedback from a client, considering what I'm currently doing in the way I'm changing how I coach. So yes, I do this thing. I have phases that my clients go through, but within these phases, there are specific things or frameworks that I utilize. And to be super honest, I've never wrote these frameworks out as in like tangible data, meaning it's like you can visibly see when and how and why you're supposed to move through these phases that I take you through. Okay. And which is kind of fun, kind of cool. And so what I'm doing right now is actually creating tangible ways for my clients to see, am I actually getting somewhere? And how do I know? Because this was very relevant and kind of interesting that this came up today in a client check-in, which was, she's feeling a little bit frustrated because she's like, I don't feel like I'm mastering anything. Yes, I've lost a little bit of weight on the scale, but I just don't feel like I'm mastering anything. Like I don't have my food mastered. I'm over here with my water not mastered. I'm over here with my, what's it called? Steps. I can't make all these puzzle pieces fit. And I want to have a couple of conversations about what number one, what does master mean? Because mastering to me is not going to be the same as mastering to you. So we have to almost define that term. And that's why I said, what does it mean to master something in your world? Because this is the same client that also said like, oh, I did this for 1 week and I feel like I'm ready for another challenge, right? For me personally, mastering something is doing it time and 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 time again, like over and over and over, right? So for instance, mastery for I'm going to use a different client for an example because I don't want to give all my client information away, but let's just say I have a client working on steps. Okay. Or actually let's use this. My newest client that signed up for Fat Loss Basics group coaching, we're focusing on protein and she's solely taking pictures. Awesome. So her goal right now is to eat more protein. The tangible that we're going to be able to see is she eating more protein throughout her day? Right. So yesterday she started off really well. And then as the day went on, she kind of quote unquote, I wouldn't say fell off because she was still eating things that had protein in them, but they were definitely more carb and fat heavy. And you could see that. Cool. So then we have to determine, what does mastery look like? Does that mean 2 out of the 3 meals are going to be protein heavy or protein loaded. All 3 meals, 5 out of the 7 days is going to look more protein heavy. Like what does mastery look like for each individual? That changes, right? The problem though is when we feel this way, when we have this feeling of, I don't feel like I'm doing it. I know I'm not the same as when I started. I feel like it's not working. I kind of feel like I'm doing something wrong. I don't feel like I'm doing enough, right? The feelings are not facts. And just because you feel this way doesn't mean it's proof that you are acting in that way. This is why I'm creating the framework, because I'm going to be able to go to this client and say, you're not wrong, right? How do we know that we're mastering this? What does that actually mean? And what does that mean for you? If I were to say 5 out of the 7 days, you have 3 meals a day that are protein loaded, and you're going to take pictures of these meals because we can see them. And that client is like, whoa, excuse me. That is too much. Way too much. Let's do 3 days a week. Oh, okay. Do you see how then there's a collaboration of coach and client versus well, this is what I think mastery is versus what you think mastery is. Now, I'm also going to tell you this. There is going to be a baseline for me as a coach before I'm like, okay, yeah, let's add something in. This particular client wanted this challenge, and yet we had only done things for 1 week. And she was going to have a change coming up in her home life for that week and weekend into the next week. And she's like, oh yeah, let's add something else in. Probably not ideal. That is where I have to pull people back and go, rinse and repeat is mastery. Rinsing and repeating and doing the same fucking thing, the boring ass fucking thing over and over again, that is mastery. And just because you feel like it isn't doesn't mean that's the truth, because here's what I know. Too often, when we don't make decisions based on logic or data and we make them based off of emotions, you tend to make very strong reactive decisions like quitting, like jumping to another program, like slashing your calories, like cutting out food groups, like starving yourself to a point, right? Or punishing yourself in ways. Could be in the gym or could be whatever, right? So when we start doing feelings over data and why data is so important, we start ignoring the things that are changing. She even said, I know things are different. I know things are changing. I've lost some weight. I understand it, but I don't feel like I'm mastering anything, which honestly for me is a really great fucking feedback for a coach, especially because this is wild. On the flip side, I have a one-on-one client that recently moved into my space in group coaching who was with me for 22 months as one-on-one coaching. Okay. Here, I want everybody to hear that 22 months she's been with me one-on-one coaching. Not that you need 22 months with me or whatever, but like, this is how long this process takes and how embedded shit is for us. Okay. And the very first thing one of the things that she told me in her check-in was the fact that she's like, oh my God, I feel like I never have to restart. Like restart is like almost not even existent in my vocabulary anymore because I just do. I'm just executing. It's just like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And I never have to like worry or restart or feel like I fell off. I might step to the side. I might breathe for a second. I might focus on different things. I might shift a little bit here, but I don't ever stop. I don't ever quit, right? That's my goal for women. So here I am getting two almost yin and yang. Is that yin? Is that yin? I always say yin and yang, but yin and yang opposing thought feelings, right? One person saying, I feel this way. I feel like I'm not mastering anything. I have another person who's been with me a really long time saying, oh my God, this is the best feeling ever, never having to restart. And it's not because she's perfect, right? And the thing is that they aren't totally different in the steps and the processes that we've taken. So now I'm trying to create this framework for my group coaching program that is actually tangible evidence, tangible things, so that when we feel this way, we can go back and say, but look at XYZ, right? And not self-sabotage the progress of the things that we are doing and the things that have been working. It just might not be as fast as what you think or what you want, or even what your brain says is actual progress. Because how many programs have we been in, have we jumped into where that is the case? It's like, oh, well, unless you're losing weight, unless the scale's going down, you're not making progress. Unless XYZ, you're not making progress, right? Those would be the tangible frameworks. When you get Optavia delivered to your door, there's a fucking tangible framework. It's called the scale. When you go to Weight Watchers, you track your points, you have the scale. We're looking at bigger picture here. Yes, the scale is important. Great, whatever. It's going to be the side effect of everything else that you can fucking do, period, right? And I will say the person that felt this way was a little bit frustrated last week because the scale did wonky shit. Okay. She was a little bit frustrated. She's like, I was so close to this really big, mark. And then the scale jumped up. Yeah, it happens. What's happening now? The scale's going back down. But that feeling can then lead to other feelings, right? And knowing that our feelings fluctuate. Our feelings are going to be up and down. They're going to be on this roller coaster ride, partially because we've, again, chosen these programs that force us to have them. Honestly, we've created them. We've created this tangled web of shit that now we have to untangle. And you want to know what? As bad as tangling that web is or was for however many years it took, untangling that shit fucking blows dog shit. I was going to say other things. I'm not sure it's appropriate. I was going to say donkey balls, but I don't know why I would say that. That's how bad it is. And I don't know how bad donkey balls are, but I'm just going to assume it's really gross. I don't know. All right. Now that it got weird. So what are some things that we want to potentially look at? Some things that I'm going to be going back into where I notice that my clients are struggling. One of these is going to be eating at home versus eating out. I need a tangible way for my clients to see that we did or did not do the work. And then this is how I know I've mastered something when it comes to eating out, because of the wonderful things he does, because this is a big problem with a lot of women that I work with is the eating out piece, right? So we are going to be taking some measurements there. And I say measurements, we're going to be tracking some data. Out of 7 days out of the week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, how many times did we eat out? If it's 21 times, I'm not including snacks, 21 times that we're eating a meal, how many times out of those 21 times did we eat food that we did not make? Okay. Other ways we can measure progress is data from the gym, right? Am I getting stronger? Measurements. This is why I told all of my group coaching clients that their measurements, while they weren't technically, what's the word I'm looking for? Why they're not technically like optional, I wasn't hammering them down. It's not optional. Take your measurements, take your photos, thank me later. This is crazy important. Okay. And if you're not doing it, you need to be. Then, another way of doing this is, you could track your steps. 5 out of 7 days, I want to hit 5,000 steps, 8,500 steps, X amount of steps, right? But we need to track it. We need to know the data so that we have the data. Okay. This is why it's importante. It's importante. I love this. And honestly, again, as a coach, the feedback from both sides, it's like, okay, I have this client over here who is feeling on one side of the spectrum, and I have a client who I've worked with who I know can get to this other side of the spectrum. And so it's like, how do I get that client to where this client was in a group setting, which I already know how to do. It's not on paper. And so being able to give my client an actual paper data to track and log so that they have it and they can see it, beautiful. And then, another thing that I really need to do, or teach is probably, another framework that I can create, right? Is how do we separate our emotions from actions? Now, I do have my SIP framework that I just taught this week. And you could apply the SIP framework to this. But I want to add an element of checking for evidence. right? So we can feel a certain way. Then we can say, okay, but what have I been doing? Where do I go to look for that? In my data, right? And then we put that little speed bump in there. We give it some space, which is all about my SIP framework, right? We interrupt that and say, okay, now is not a great time for me to necessarily make a decision because I feel one way, but my data is telling me something else. Or maybe I feel this way and my data is actually telling me it's true. That could be a possibility, right? I feel stuck, or I didn't feel like I make any progress this week. Well, when we look at the data, you ate out of 21 meals, you ate out 19 of them. Well, that's probably not going to help your progress, right? So how do we do that, right? And then it's like, okay, so I'm not where I want to be. We got to reframe it. I'm not where I want to be. I didn't do a great job this last week. The data shows me. Now I actually have logical reasoning and to understand why I feel this way. How do I change that? And how do I move forward? Okay. And then it's also like giving my clients a path forward. Okay, but what does that mean? So how do I plan now? Right? How do I make this work now? If I ate out 19 times, how do I only eat out 10 times? What does that look like? Okay. So I just wanted to clarify that because I feel like, we're so used to saying, I feel, and we feel behind and we feel like we're not doing it right. And we feel like it's taking too long and we feel all these things, but the emotions don't necessarily show you what the score is. It doesn't actually show you the data of what you are or you are not doing, right? Your actions and your patterns and your habits and your ability to just stay in the game, even when it's hard, even when it's not perfect, even when it doesn't feel right, even when it feels off and like it's not working. Your ability to stay in the game and on the field is actual data. Your ability to show up, right? My client's ability to check in and say, this is how I'm feeling. That's data. She is not the same. That's data. She wants to do it. That's data. She's ready for better, right? She knows she needs something a little bit more and her feeling is valid, right? Her feeling of feeling off is very valid. She's allowed to feel that way. And it's not about telling our feelings, you're stupid, you're dumb, look at the data tells me something else. It's going, this feeling is okay to have? Awesome. Now what? It's like, sit next to it, sit with it on the couch, hang out with it for a second, and then move forward, right? Okay. So, alrighty, that's my episode today. I'm loving this little 20 minutes and in and out. And this was a really interesting episode, just based, the topic of it was so important for this day. And just getting this, like I said, these polarizing feelings from clients, which is good, like I said, good feedback for me as a coach, but also more so good feedback for me so that I can help my clients better and how I do things. So I hope you guys have a great day. Again, next Tuesday, you'll see the link in the show notes specifically for Fat Loss Basics Black Friday, but there's no Monday episode, so don't look for it Monday. But the code or the whatever it is will be live. So you want to make sure that so you want to make sure if you are interested in that, it will be on my TikTok. It will be on my Instagram, Facebook, emails. So make sure that you're doing all those things. So if you guys have questions about it, let me know. I'm really excited about kicking up Fat Loss Basics to a whole new level. All right, guys, I will catch you on Tuesday's episode. Have a great weekend.